comes the wash. What did I tell you? Was there going to be a wash, Tony? There was going to be a wash. There always is a wash.
The boat recovery you see here is virtually a copybook recovery. Everything is going according to plan. It's not always like that, and often because the people concerned have no plan, or simply because they've not taken the time to prepare for what can be a complicated or even dangerous procedure.
But actually touching on that side, but that's not a problem. Everybody happy? Thought I was going to have to for a minute, Hugh.
That keel was right on this side of the block. Is that okay?
Well.
This went right on the outside edge.
Yeah, but it's on. It's all on, isn't it? Yeah. Ain't gonna go no place.
This film is to help you avoid the pitfalls. It starts right here in the wet area. The first thing you need to attend to is the booking form, which you'll find somewhere here. It appears spring and autumn. And the second document you need to look at very carefully is the launching and recovery of cruisers. It tells, as best we can, the things you need to prepare for before you actually go out there and do it.
There's no good coming down on the day, ringing up the same day, the evening before. You may be refused, not out of bloody mindedness, just because the plan is cast and there may not be, for whatever reason, people who are willing to hang about half the day because you couldn't get yourself organised in time. Safety in all of this is paramount. Anyone who's seen it in action can perceive any number of safety hazards associating with even a small boat. The whole thing has got to be organised and done properly, or it turns into a dangerous shambles, which means that everybody's got to know what they're doing. They've got to be aware of what they're supposed to be doing, and they've got to have eyes in the back of their heads. The hazards aren't always as obvious as they might be. There's obviously a role for the tractor drivers to point them out, but people need to look after their own safety and that of their wives, children, whatever. It really is a very good area to stay clear of if you're not actually involved.
In a moment, we'll talk you through a couple of recoveries, but first of all, a couple of words about tractors and tractor drivers.
The tractor drivers do it in their spare time as a service to fellow members. Most of them enjoy doing it. They don't mind taking a bit extra time if people have a problem that couldn't really be foreseen. They tend not to be amused if people appear with kit that's not in good order or haven't got the vaguest idea what they're trying to do or think they know better and try and tell the tractor driver what he ought to be doing. On the day, the tractor driver, and if there are two, and there normally need to be two, the driver of the big tractor is in charge of the operation. He sets the order, organises when trailers come round, which boats come out, and who helps whom if necessary. And it is the only way to run the exercise. You cannot have more than one person in overall charge. That doesn't absolve individual members of personal responsibility for making sure that, you know, all their kit is ready and that they're in a position to advise what particular requirements may be necessary. The particular preparation that everyone needs to make is to make sure that their trailer, if they have one, is sufficiently sound that it isn't going to fall apart in the middle of the exercise. Every year we have trailers with bits falling off, with bits that don't work. The steering, the wheel bearings all need to be in good order, preferably greased. People know full well that if they allow the bearings to deteriorate, it is very expensive to replace them. And it's no use coming down on the day and finding the wheels are seized up, because that is then much too late. So, as we said before, this is essentially the standard club design of trailer for a fin-keeled boat, which is a lot easier than the trailer for a bilge-keeled boat, because that needs platforms on either side to put the keels on. This one just needs a central platform in the middle. It can also have straight axles off a truck without cutting them in half and sticking them on the ends of long bits of steel. This one is a little bit different in that we've built in pads on all the four corners, which is convenient for parking the boat in the winter, keeping it off leaning on the sides. And we just so happen to have steering at both ends, which makes it very maneuverable. But these are very much options as far as the standard design is concerned. We've already got our ropes rigged on here, and the purpose of these is to hold the boat on the trailer when the trailer comes forward to pull the boat out of the water. You also fit them when you're launching a boat to avoid the boat falling off the back end. The whole thing is massively built and nicely padded. You can do a lot of damage just trailing about on rusty metal work. There's a guide here which takes the fin right into the centre of the trailer, so you don't end up crooked or over one side or the other, hopefully. And most importantly, there's a wooden piece of plywood here, which is the anti-skid device. If you put metal keels on metal trailers, they very easily fall off, and that is extremely bad news. The Hythe is designed to give us plenty of leeway. Obviously, in the launching situation, you can end up, before you're actually settled on the trailer, much higher than you actually intend to end up. It also has the advantage that the sides come up high enough that you can grasp them easily from deck level without having to bend down. And it's worth noting that the tops of the posts have got a little rainproof cover. The box sections that we've used for the uprights are very strong, but of course you cannot easily treat the insides of them, so they tend to rust away from the inside. So the trick is to make sure that water doesn't get in either from the top or the bottom, and seawater is obviously particularly damaging. So if you're using box section, you really have got to seal the ends of it so that it remains essentially dry inside. Fitting drain points on the bottom, which some people do, is a partial answer, but it still rusts furiously inside.
Oh, and one other thing. If you don't put a marker on your trolley to indicate its required depth, the tractor driver won't know when to stop lowering you into the water. A piece of brightly coloured tape or a paint mark is all that's required, like this one here. But of course, you have to do the sums to know what depth the trolley should be to accommodate your craft, and for that you'll need to take such factors into account as the height of the waterline above the ground. And it's not so straightforward if you're using a separate trolley to transport your cradle. You need to work it out very carefully but it makes an awful difference to how well your boat is recovered. Your crew should consist of at least 3 people. That's yourself and at least someone else to assist you on board the boat, and at least one person to help you on land by steering your trolley in and out of the water, having chocks ready, placing the ladder for you to descend from your boat when you're on land, generally looking after things while you're out on the boat.
The routine on the day is to get down here in plenty of time. We recommend 3 hours, and that to many people is far too much, and they're quite happy to turn up an hour or so beforehand. The reason for stating 3 hours, it gives you a chance to check that the slip is clear of rocks and rubbish, and to get your boat organised in good time, so that then you're all set, and if anybody inadvertently has a problem, you're free to help them and get the show on the road rather than the whole thing dies through lack of effort. If you come down late, the thing tends to get out of hand.
We'll see how the boat is tipped over because Peter is on the one side of it. This may or may not be to his disadvantage. You'll have to straighten him up, Tony. Can you get over that side to straighten it up? No, he's not. Almost certainly not in, I would think. You may not be in, Pete. It's quite an angle even when you're over that side. Yeah, that's better. Yeah. Foot 18 inches back, but...
Normally launching and recovery is possible in any weather. The thing that is really traumatic is strong southeasterly winds, which kick up such rough seas that most people choose not to do it. Whereas southwesterly, from which we're well protected, you can recover and launch in force 6 probably quite easily. Rain, of course, is a nuisance, and it doesn't make it any easier, but it doesn't stop the show going on the road. But obviously you need to have your oilies along because, again, if you get cold and wet and miserable, it's when things start going wrong. The order of who comes in is decided by the big tractor driver. It normally is done in the order of draft of boats, bearing in mind that shallow draft boats on club trailers probably need more water than deeper draft boats on their own trailers, which are much lower slung. Right, you're coming off the pontoon, you're heading for your trailer or cradle, which is already in the water, ready for you. You may have been involved in putting in yourself.
So, nice gentle approach. One of his carpets has slipped down, look.
The trick is to aim to slide in there with enough speed that you just slide into the stop.
So he's now running the ropes back to the winches to hold the boat forward, stop it dropping back when the trailer starts pulling out. And it should pull it up against the stop in front of the trailer. And lo and behold, right on cue, in comes the wash. What did I tell you? Was there going to be a wash, Tony? There was going to be a wash.
Best to come in, straight in from some distance out, see what the wind and the current are doing to you, and you can then compensate, and with luck you can slide straight into the trailer, right up until you stop. Then it's best, and there is a problem for boats that don't have keels, lifting keels, you need to be more careful with. You then can afford to leave the engine running on tick over just to hold you in the trailer while you get the ropes, which are run from the front of your trailer or from the club trailer. Take them back to your boat's winches and pull them in tight. Normally it's worth winching them because as soon as the trailer lurches forward, the boat is going to drop back. If you've got a lifting keel, you need to know exactly where the boat needs to be positioned on the trailer or cradle. Very often the mast lines up with the forward support posts, but you need to be aware where it's going to end up so that you can set the boat in the right position. The second crew member normally is stationed on the bow of the boat when it's coming in towards the cradle. He can grab the posts as soon as you get there, fend off and feed the boat in to the right position, avoid too much scuffing against the uprights, though most sensible people put carpet on them to prevent damage to their boats. Now your shore party come into their own. If the trailer has a steering lock, there's probably not much for the shore party to do at this stage apart from just watch that the boat is settling nicely onto the trailer and see when the keel comes out of the water that it is positioned correctly. If it isn't, he can advise you and the tractor driver ready to drop the boat back in to settle it properly. If, and the club trailers do, you need a steering rope, your shore member will be steering the trailer up the slope so that it comes out fairly straight and central. Obviously it's important that the boat doesn't get at too much of an angle on the slip, with the dangers of falling over, of course. So the boat gets to the top of the slip. As soon as the large tractor driver decides it's over the top of the slip, he will stop, and as soon as he does, the shore party need to chock the trailer to make sure it doesn't go rolling back in again. As soon as that's done, he will back up enough to get the chain loose and the shore party disconnect the chain. And one thing they can do for the skipper, because he by this time may not be thinking entirely clearly, is to take his steering locking pin out. Every year we routinely have people leaving their locking pins in, and the next minute their steering is wrecked when the tractor tokes it away. Make sure the pin comes out straight away when you're on shore. And of course the last job, perhaps the most important job for the landing party, is to go and get the ladder and let the captain off his boat so he can inspect it, see that it's rightly positioned and check what condition it is underneath. The whole thing, when it's properly done, can be very slick, but it needs that people think what all the things are going to happen and are prepared to go and help other people to get the whole thing working smoothly. Finally, the boat will be towed to your pound space. Bear in mind that in the sort of weather when boats normally come out, the ground is likely to be fairly soft in some areas. The norm is to park boats facing southwest, the prevailing wind, so that the hatch is on the downwind side, but it's entirely members' choice whether they're going forwards or backwards, and either is equally possible.
Well, that's just about it. We haven't shown you a launching, and quite deliberately, because there's nothing very different about launching that you haven't seen as part of the recovery. Hopefully you'll have your boat all ready, you'll have your trailer prepared, you'll have your crew ready, and you'll have filled in all the appropriate forms, and all you need to do after that is to have a good year's sailing. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.